Let's see. Okay. Well, I'll start. So today I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of both about Duke and Pratt and also the transfer process, and also give you an opportunity to ask me any questions you have. So I prepared a few slides to facilitate the conversation. Let's see if it works. Um, there you go. Yeah. Can you see them okay?
Yeah, I can see them well.
Sounds good. Well, like I said, my name is Carmen Rawls. I'm the academic dean in Pratt. That will be your academic dean when you come into Duke and become a Pratt student. I am the main point of contact for you guys to provide you with academic advising, and also when you need any assistance and don't know who to reach out to. I'm also the one that will be checking your graduation requirements all the way until graduation, and I'll clear you for graduation at the end. Um, but in addition to that, talking a little bit about engineering at Duke per se, we offer 6 majors: biomedical engineering, civil engineering, environmental engineering, electrical and computer engineering, mechanical engineering, and the IDS major, which is in an interdisciplinary major that a student will build with a faculty advisor. And these would be for a very specialized topic. It's for students whose career goals cannot be met with one of our approved structured ABIT accredited majors. So besides some majors we also offer 4 minors and 7 certificates. So we have minors in electrical and computer engineering, energy engineering, machine learning and artificial intelligence, software engineering. And the certificates range from different topics, could be robotics, innovation entrepreneurship, and many others. They're more interdisciplinary, so they have components from Trinity and from Pratt. In addition to that, our students can enhance their Pratt experience through many different other programs, starting with research opportunities. Over half of our students get involved in undergraduate research while at Duke. This could be through independent study sessions, course in which they receive course credit for research work. It could be from by participating in one of our structured programs like BAS Connections or the Pratt Research Fellows program. The Pratt Research Fellows program is for upperclassmen in senior year. They get involved in research for a period of 2 years, and then they showcase their work at the end of graduation in their last semester at Duke. For BAS Connections is more interdisciplinary and multi-age, so students from Trinity and Pratt can work together, and they can be from first years to postdocs working on the same program project. Over 20% of our students study abroad, and this is still an opportunity for transfer students. And there are additional interdisciplinary options. So many of our students take classes in Trinity, and they can pursue programs like minors or second majors in Trinity as well. An additional opportunity to consider, some of our students take advantage of the 4+1 program, in which they could complete their bachelor's degree and their master's degree in a shorter period of time by taking classes during senior year that will not count towards their undergraduate requirements, and then they are able to transfer them towards the master's degree. So going more in depth into academic experience, our majors require at least 34 course credits for completion. We require 1 writing course, 1 computer programming class, 5 mathematics courses. These are calculus 1, 2, linear algebra, multivariate calculus, ordinary and partial differential equations. They require 4 natural science courses, and these are 1 chemistry, 2 physics, and each department will have their own natural science elective. All of our students take Trinity classes, and we require for them to have 5 course credits in liberal arts. And the remaining courses would be more departmental specific. So there are about 14 engineering classes and additional classes that are free electives, and the number will depend on major. I recommend that all students refer to the departmental handbooks. So each department has their own website and they have a handbook that contains all program requirements, information, and sample schedules. So this is it's a good reference. So then you know exactly what you need to graduate and you have a sample schedule that you can follow for planning purposes. So going to the transfer credit process, which we're currently on. So by now you've all received an email from me with instructions on how to proceed and for me to do the course evaluations. The first step is for all of you to upload your syllabi of all the courses you've taken at your previous institution into DukeBox. I will share that information with our departments, and the director of undergraduate studies of the department will evaluate the class, will compare it to the one we offer, and if it's deemed equivalent, then we approve the credit transfer. Afterwards, you will send admissions the last official transcript from your institution, which can contain all the grades from the last semester, especially the spring semester. Once we receive all the documents, we will send it to the registrar and we will process the credit. And then the courses will appear in your record at Duke. After that credit transfer process is complete, I will reach out to each and every one of you again, and then we'll sit down, have a meeting, and we'll be able to discuss both the course evaluations and also the academic plan based on the major that you would like to pursue. So like I said, as your academic dean, I'm the main point of contact in terms of support and advice, but I'm not the only one. So during the summer, one step that you complete is also declaring your major through Duke Hub. And when the fall semester starts, you'll be assigned a faculty advisor from that major. You'll meet with that faculty advisor every semester before the registration window opens to discuss course selections for the following term. And you'll start that this fall. They're particularly helpful in junior, senior year when you're trying to find your the areas within the major that you would like to focus more on, and then you can select electives from that major. So faculty advisors can tell you more about specializations within the major and also give you career advice and other matters. You'll have access to other sources like the Blue Book. So the Blue Book is a very good reference that gives you information on how to prepare for the fall semester at Duke. It will give you general information about Duke and how to prepare, and also they have a complete chapter on registration with step-by-step instructions on how to register for the full classes. In addition to that, we have a lot of support, starting with a academic resource center. So they provide support for your classes if you need them. So they have peer tutoring, they have study groups, they have other things that you can take advantage of if you need them. We also provide career advising through the Career Center. They can help you with mock interviews, resume building, finding an internship, and other matters. We also offer an event called Tech Connect each year, in which companies from all over come and recruit of our students, and that gives you an opportunity to meet them and find a job. And finally, for wellness and support, we have the Wellness Center, counseling, psychological services, and many others. When you become a Pratt student, you become part of the family, and there are many different options and student groups that you can join. So if you look at the QR code, there are over 600 registered student groups at Duke of many different topics. Their areas range from professional chapters for career, like the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, Society of Women Engineers, NSBE, SHIP, all the way to students that are teams that compete. For example, our electric vehicle team has competed on the Shell competition each year. They've won several times, and they've even broken the Guinness World Record on fuel efficiency. We have other groups that provide service for the community, like Duke Engineers for International Development. Each year during the summer, they'll go to different countries and provide service through design. So for example, they've been to Bolivia and built bridges so that communities can be connected. So there are many different things that you can join based on your interests, and the support and the opportunities go beyond our campus. So Our alumni network is very strong. School spirit is very strong at Duke, and they love to support our students beyond our campus. So there are different programs where we facilitate their interaction. So you could get, for example, an alumni advisor assigned to you from the same field, and they can give you advice. You can always submit questions to alumni through Ask a Blue Devil. And for those students that have an entrepreneurial mindset, the Christensen Family Center for Innovation is there also. If a student wants to, I don't know, is interested in a startup and want advice on how to start, they can help you from prototyping to commercializing the item. So there are many different opportunities. You'll learn more when you arrive. Those are the few slides I wanted to share with you. Because I also wanted time to answer any questions you have at the moment. So feel free.
Yeah, I had a few questions. I'll start off talking about study abroad. You said that it's still an option for transfer students. I was wondering how feasible is study abroad for transfers in Pratt? Is that sort of dependent on our credits that transfer over? And about what percentage of transfers do you see actually taking the opportunity to study abroad?
I don't have the data on how many transfer students study abroad. It will depend. I think everything is possible. It's just a matter of planning for it. So the
Yep.
first step will be once I complete the credit transfer, then I'll know how many credits you have available and how many more you will need to complete. What are your goals during the 4 years at Duke, and determine how many classes you needed to accomplish them. Um, while abroad, I mean, there are abroad opportunities during the summer that have basically no limit. You can go to those, and it's in a way beyond the minimum requirements in a sense. They're more flexible. So you can participate with those with very little planning. If you wanted to go abroad for a whole semester, then we would sit down at least a year in advance and determine which are the classes that will be more suitable for that semester. Usually students will take 2 classes from their major that are major specific, and also liberal arts electives, pre-electives while abroad. So they still have 4 courses that will complete during that semester that count towards requirements. So if the student doesn't need to overload every semester, that makes it very feasible.
Perfect. And is that typical? You said 4 courses per semester for students. Is that what you typically see?
That is a full course load at Duke, yes.
Okay,
Some students might enroll in 5, but it just depends.
gotcha. And then moving on to research with Bass Connections and the Pratt research focus areas. Is that something we're able to participate in this coming year? And if so, how do we reach out to people regarding research opportunities in our first year here at Duke?
So the Pratt Research Fellows applications, students apply in junior fall,
Hmm.
and applications are always open in the month of October.
Okay,
Some advanced sophomores might want to apply earlier to have more flexibility, and yeah, we can schedule a time and discuss everything, the different opportunities, and when to best apply once you're here. For Bass Connections, I can look for the contact information, but it will be a possibility. Even first-year students are able to join groups.
okay, perfect. And Richard, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in and cut me off. I've got a decent list of them here. Um, And then I also wanted to confirm that our equivalent credits, those are evaluated and returned to us before the window to fully confirm enrollment ends on June 1st.
Yes, so my goal is to send all the transfer students a status report with the current state of their evaluations by May 29th.
Okay, perfect. It's amazing. And then you also said that we're meant to choose our specific major over the course of this summer, and I was wondering, because I'm not fully certain on my major within Pratt yet, is there any flexibility after choosing this major to change it, or is it sort of set in stone after we select it this summer?
No, if there are changes, you can change. You can really clear your major.
Okay, that's wonderful to hear. And is that like a difficult process, or is that a pretty easy redeclare process if that comes to be?
So to declare your major is easy. Obviously, the sooner you know your major, the better, because that way we'll have more time to satisfy all the requirements. So hopefully, your interests are related to each other. But we'll discuss that when we do the academic plan to see where you're at. But it's an easy process.
Wonderful. Thank you. Let's see. And then when registration comes around, have there been sort of spots set aside for transfer students as we get into this, or are we sort of working with whatever's left after the course registration of current students have signed up for the classes that they're wanting?
So upperclassmen have enrolled already.
Yep.
However, I help my students enroll in other required classes to make sure they are on track to graduate on time.
Okay, thank you. I believe that is all that I had questions on. Um, yeah. So,
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. So yeah, like I said, then um if I need additional information from the students, I'll reach out. And I hope to schedule a meeting with everyone close to May 29th during that week so we can go over the course evaluation together. Um, if there are delays with me receiving all the information, then obviously we will have to meet later when the evaluations are over. But I know that we have ample time until we can enroll in classes. So for all the transfer students, my goal is for them to enroll in classes by mid-July. So we have ample time till then. But if there are any questions that come up, feel free to send me an email, let me know. Yeah, that's about it.
all right, thank you so much for the help today.
Okay, you're welcome. Thanks for joining. And like I said, reach out if you have any questions. So, see you soon.
Okay. I
Bye.
also had a
Uh-huh.
few questions, sorry.
No, that's
Um,
okay.
so I just got my microphone working and my camera is also not working, so sorry about that.
That's
But
okay. Just fine.
yeah. So I was wondering if like there's any like transfer community like for Pratt engineering students. Since I know that most transfer students are I think in Trinity, so I was wondering if there's like any like community or like organization for transfer students in Pratt specifically.
So I don't think we have a Pratt group. I'm not aware if we have a Pratt group for only transfer students.
Okay.
Um, I think our transfer students join different groups that are could be Pratt specific if they wanted to, but they're not limited to transfer only. Um, our goal it would be, to become part of the whole community. This is a very collaborative environment. Um, and I think most of the time, if not all, students just join regular student groups. But there is a community for transfer, a larger group, and those would include Trinity students, and our Pratt students participate in those groups as well.
Okay. Um, so does that mean there's like support groups and like for example like activities for transfer students like during the academic year to help facilitate the process?
So, I believe so, and you'll receive more information throughout the time. I don't know how many activities, like I said, are just for transfer students. But for example, this Friday, we have the first opportunity. I don't know if you live close enough that you can come visit on Friday.
Mhm.
But during the fall semester, starting with orientation week, there'll be some activities specific for transfers.
Okay, that helps.
Yeah.
I was also wondering, since you mentioned the requirements for like, I believe humanities classes and like natural sciences and math classes for incoming transfer students, do those have to be taken at Duke or would like previous transfer credits or like AP credits be able to count to those?
We would count AP credits and credits transferred to satisfy some of the requirements. We don't count AP credits for the liberal arts electives, but we would count AP credits, let's say for calculus 1 or 2. For physics, chemistry, it will depend on the score. You would have to send all your AP scores directly to the registrar's office, and they will assign credit based on the score. Once they show up on the Duke record, then I'll be able to know which ones can count towards that requirement. But to answer your question, yes, transfer credits and AP credits can count towards those 34 requirements.
Okay. Um, so I'm interested in studying electrical engineering at Duke. But I would also be interested in pursuing like a double major in Trinity in physics. Do you know if any transfer students have been able to successfully pursue a double major?
Um, Trinity students pursuing a double major. I would say in general, yes. I've had a transfer student pursue a double major. You said electrical and computer engineering and physics.
Yes.
So if you look at the electrical and computer engineering handbook, they do have a sample schedule and the list of requirements to complete to get that double major combination.
Okay. Do you think it would be feasible to do like without like credit overloading, or anything just in a reasonable, like I believe 4 credits per semester
Yes, so I
schedule?
would say I'll be able to answer that question after you complete your credit transfer.
Okay. If I already uploaded like all of my syllabi, to the Dukebox, when can we expect to hear back about credit transfer?
Usually it would take me about 2 weeks.
Okay.
So then, like I said, my plan is to meet with my transfer students. I mean, as early as I can, but I will send all the transfer students an updated current status of the course evaluations, so that they have a better idea of how many credits they might expect to receive. It might not be complete if I'm unable to complete everything. It depends on availability from the departments, but I hope to be able to do so, especially if you've already uploaded everything. That gives me sufficient time, hopefully. But you should receive a report from me by May 29th.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's it for questions that I have, but thank you so much for answering them and for hosting this event.
Oh, you're welcome. And like I said, if you have additional questions, feel free to reach out. I'll be working on this credit transfer for the time being, and I know that you might have different concerns or questions, so I'm here to be able to provide you with support as much as I can.
All right, thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye, Dr. Ross. Thank you.
Bye. See you soon.